Rudy Mara. My name is Lynette Rice. I'm a writer for Entertainment Weekly. And as you can see, we have a proud tradition of honoring strong female characters and the incredible women who portray them. The last couple of years, we've paid tribute to that tradition by hosting a Women Who Kick Ass panel at Comic-Con. And it's our pleasure to return again this year with a whole new group of serious butt kickers. Let me introduce them. She is the former star of Smallville, who's returning to Comic-Con to promote her new CW drama, Beauty and the Beast. Not hard to figure out which part she will portray. The gorgeous Kristin Kreuk. Co-star of the brutal but brilliant family drama 13, but you probably know her much, much better as the rather angry Rosalie in the Twilight Saga. Ladies and gentlemen, Nikki Reed. She went from playing Dr. Tancredi on Prison Break to ditching zombies on AMC's hit drama The Walking Dead. Sarah Wayne Callies. Prepare your goodbyes, folks. This will be the last time we will see Olivia Dunham at Comic-Con before Fringe sunsets. Is Sharon Fox. Show her how much we're going to miss her. And a Torv. Saying this, but who knew such a gorgeous woman would look absolutely fabulous in a pair of sweats from Walmart? I assume you True Blood fans know what the heck I'm talking about. Say hello to Kristin, Bauer, vanity. Apologies, but we weren't able to get this six-ass kicker into the programming notes, but I'm sure you won't mind her participation. You may have caught her on Spartacus, but she will always, always be Xena to us all. Lucy Lawless! And ask each one of you to talk about the most badass thing that you did this year. It could be anything, like something that happened to you or something badass that you did. Lucy, let's start with you. What's a badass thing that you've done? I don't know.
I got arrested after spending 4 days occupying an oil rig that was headed up to the Arctic, and so we'll see how badass the big house is.
Now let me just put this up. So you pled guilty to save the environment, so that's where things stand.
I am guilty of trying to save the environment.
And we find out when what happens to you.
In September 14 is sentencing, so bring it on, I say.
We'll break you out, Luce. We'll break you out if you go away.
Kristin, what about you? You talked about something badass that you did this last year.
I can't follow that. I've got things to say. Come on. Right? I mean, okay, last week. I drank the milk the day after the expiration date. No, I don't actually drink milk, but I thought committing to that Walmart sweatsuit was pretty intimidating.
Anna, how about you?
Gosh, I love Anna. It's really funny. What did I do? I've been in Hawaii for a holiday, and I've been surfing and I got staff. That's gross, not badass. They have sharks there. I'm Australian, and I'm not scared of spiders.
Sarah?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm raising a 4-year-old. That feels like a...
That's pretty bad.
It's her birthday in a week,
Really
and we bought her a bow and arrow. That would get like a real one. So I don't know if I'm a badass, but I'm raising one.
You're
Pretty committed to raising a badass little girl.
Nikki, what about you?
God, it's really hard being fifth.
Right now. Unless you're six.
Yeah, it could be 6. Sorry, it's okay. I bought a house. That's not the badass part of this. I bought a house and I realized how much I hated construction workers. So I tried to do it myself. There's obviously nothing badass about that. Except what happens to your pantry when you try to drill shit into it and it falls apart when you put a can of soup on it. That's all I got for you.
Alright, so I'm last.
Yeah.
Badass. Okay, well, I'm trying to think of this year. This year, I don't know, I partially moved to LA. I don't know if that was badass, but it was really difficult for me. But I think my most badass, I recently traveled to Syria, and this is not super badass, but we were out and we were in like one of the desert camps, and we were near the Iraqi border, peeing outside with lots of men around. No, that would be badass. They have those funnels though.
Yeah, the shiwi or the go-girl.
Shiwi, I didn't know it was called that.
Oh, I became so acquainted with them. The oil rig.
You use them. That's fantastic.
Yeah, they're tricky. You've got to... Yeah.
Alright,
Did
so
you demonstrate?
I was just what?
Oh,
Sorry?
I thought I was missing the demonstration.
Oh, you did. It was earlier. We were doing it backstage. Yeah.
by the way, Nikki only thought this was a panel for 200 people. Could you let her know how many of you are here right now? 1,012. Alright, something serious now. Okay, when Josh Whedon tried in vain to write a Wonder Woman movie, he said in 2010 that it failed because, quote, she's a girl. Hollywood is still twitchy about that. Do you think moods are changing thanks to the success of Dragon with Tattoo in the Hunger Games? How about you, Kristin?
You know, it's so hard to say because you kind of need to compare it to what it feels like being a guy or, you know, what it felt like before, because my experience is so limited to my experience. So from my experience playing Pam, I'm like, oh, it's totally different. We're in a whole new world, you know, because I'm on this show where they, you know, make women really tough and badass. And I spent the first part of my career with nobody believing that I could be smart or tough. Haha. And so it feels to me as if it is changing, but I also feel like it's really important for us to, if we can, create our own projects and do as much as we can to be proactive in that area, what we'd want to see, to try in our own way to create that.
Lucy, what do you think?
Yes, I do agree with that actually. You've got to be a bit of a warrior for your own career, and funny you should mention that because somebody came to me to say, do you want to develop this series of books with me? And it's a real producer, and I thought maybe it's time I stepped up and started to produce my own stuff. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Sarah, did you want to make a point about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's difficult for women in this business. I think we're often taught that we are competition for one another, and that we ought to not be friends, and that we ought to be thinner, younger, and prettier. And the people who have been the greatest mentors to me. Actually, I mean, the very first series I did was with Lucy, and she made a huge impression on me. And showing up on set and sticking her hand out and saying, "I'm Lucy," and that was it. We were friends, and she was a supporter and a champion. And I think the way forward with women is with women.
Yeah.
I think that's how we do it.
Anna, did you want to jump in?
Well, I mean, on that, I think that you're only ever as good as the people that you're working with, and so therefore you should be supportive of everyone, men and women too. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I haven't. As I said, I can only talk from my experience, and I've really only worked in Australia, and we shoot in Canada, and I don't know. There's always been a kind of solidarity. I think I have been lucky to have escaped that kind of competitive nature. I haven't ever experienced any of that stuff, which I'm relieved about. But are things changing? I don't know. Yeah, I think they always change. But then again, I'm a woman, so I remember clearly people are like, "Oh, there's so many more, female leads." I'm like, well, that was all that stood out in my head when I was growing up anyway, because you're constantly, looking for role models. So, I just still see it. Yeah.
Kristin, Nikki, what is your point of view on this?
It's interesting. I think it is challenging for women in this business, and I've always felt that way. But I think, and I look at television now, and a lot of the characters and roles that are out there for women in TV are fantastic. I don't know if that's as true in film. That's a broad statement to make, and it's a generalization. But I think that when we look at even auditioning during pilot season or whatever, there's a lot of stories that are really female driven, and not in a stereotypical sense, and not in she's strong because she behaves like a man sense. I think that there is a lot of complexity, and I think that's really important. And I agree with you ladies, making our own projects and making sure that there are writers that are women and producers that are women, so that we can tell those stories in the way that is true to us, is really valuable.
And also, sorry, just to add to that too, is I think sometimes, we do have a lot of, there's a lot of female leads in a lot of different shows, but what we maybe need to start looking at is, for every one female lead, there's then 5 supporting men. And it would be nice to kind of start to even that side of things up a little bit too, so that you get the opportunity to work, and you get the opportunity to kind of learn and grow before you kind of throw into the deep end too.
Yeah.
This is something I'd like you to weigh in on. Did you all see the movie 13? Y'all remember that? How do you feel about writing a screenplay with a strong female as the center? And do you think it would get made?
Well, I'd like to say I do because it did. It's sort of connected to what we were just talking about. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know. Maybe I've just been sheltered in a certain sense, but I grew up with so many strong women around me, and Catherine Hurdick, who's the director you're referring to, some of the best films I've made have been with her, and I've had such a great experience working with strong women, and a lot of the women that I've surrounded myself by, Rita Wilson, who writes for the Huffington Post and has starred in countless films and is now, writing and producing her album and singing, and Sherry Lansing, and just countless women around me. And so I was brought up with this idea of, if you want to do it, you can do it. And I don't feel limited. I don't feel that pressure of being a young woman. Is that okay? Yeah. It's I guess overly optimistic and maybe straying farther from what's real, but it's just my mentality.
It's the right mentality, It's great.
Do you think biases still exist in Hollywood, that men won't come to see movies or watch television shows that have strong female leads? Do you think there's still studio execs who feel that way?
I'm sure there are, but there's that show on HBO, Girls, and she's not, it's so great. She's not, it's so great. I love Angelina Jolie, and she's amazing, and that role in Salt was written for a guy. So you see all those, you hear those stories, but then there's Girls. She's just such the not stereotypical lead, and she's wrote and produced it and starring in it. So it's definitely that if you create the opportunity, there may be, you know, resistance in some areas, but there is to everything. There was resistance to the light bulb, you know. So I think the world just resists things. There's resistance to better environmental practices. There's just the status quo, but it can be with a good product.
Have you noticed how many older women are now reigning in television?
Yes.
I'm loving this. It's awesome to see those women kicking ass. You know, and they might be Sigourney Weaver, who paved the way for all of us to be here. Her portrayal of Ripley was the be-all and end-all, and in a way still is. So I actually wrote a fan letter to her the other day. I wrote a pure fan letter, and anyway. Sarah, did you want to say something to that?
No, I just think it's awesome. I mean, but seriously, this is right. I think there's something to be said for the fact that the roles on television, especially for women right now, they're not roles for women who are, you know, 5'9", 21, and weigh 105 pounds. You know, they're roles for women. And
Glenn Close, another one.
Yeah, I feel like the role I'm playing right now is one of the most interesting and complex characters I have ever seen on television. And it deals with a woman who's a mother, and she's been married for a long time. And there's a sense that you can explore the issues that real women, you know, face, not just, do I shave my legs or my back? You know, like these are real women. I don't think it was always that way.
What is the day in the life like for you while walking in Dead? Because the whole cast looks like they just have a truckload
Do
of
you
stuff.
shave your legs or do you wax your legs? I mean, it's not about beauty. It's hot and it's sweaty and it's gross, and I think it's kind of liberating. You know, I go through hair and makeup, and it's not the hair and makeup department, it's the dirt and blood department. You know, they sweat you down, they throw sunscreen on you, they throw dirt on your face. It's wonderful. It's a great. The show is the enemy of vanity, and I think that's a really exciting thing.
I gotta ask you guys, what is the worst costume that you've ever been asked to wear? Let me start with you, Kristin.
Oh my God. Okay. I've had I think that I'm doing Smallville for 8 years. I had skin tight, Kristin over there, I'm sure, wears a lot of really skin tight leather clothes, but a lot of skin tight leather clothes. Tiny, I think they wanted me in the tiniest skirts and bustiers and red. I was 15 years old, not me, but the character was 15 years old, and I wanted her in red lace lingerie. That kind of stuff, but yeah. I think so. If you're 18, it's 15. Okay. Yeah.
Nikki, how about you? Bustier, Nikki?
I don't know. I feel like all of the horrendous stuff I've been forced to shove my body into has been, a contributing factor. I don't know. I just feel like it's made the character what it is, so I try not to complain. And also, and not that that's my point, but I also feel like because Twilight is still going around, in 5 years I'll have some really fun stories for you guys, but I really shouldn't do that yet. So ask me next year.
And the cool thing about Fringe is that you're kind of de-modified on that show. I mean, they don't play up the total chick that is Olivia. Has that been a refreshing thing for you?
Yeah, that was something that right from the very beginning, it's like, you know what, the show is set so far out there, it's science fiction, we always sort of, you have to therefore make the characters as believable as you can within, that kind of, framework, and if she's an FBI agent, then she should be in flat brownstones, a grey suit, and a big, we shoot in Vancouver, it's cold, I want a hat, a scarf, a woolen jumper, and that's kind of that's her nature, and they've always been really great about it too. There hasn't been, I think there was a little bit of, it would be great if we could, sex it up. And I'm like, well, when we're looking at this dead body, or like when we go back to the lab and look at the other one, and you're like, fair enough too. So that in itself is liberating. I mean, the worst thing that I have to put on is like the revolting, like flesh-colored wetsuit when I'm being attacked. That's it. Like, really. But that is refreshing, and also, I think that's happening more and more. You start to sort of see. It's interesting with HD too. Like seeing your faces on TV and
Oh, you like that, do you?
no, it's interesting because I think what happens is that you get kind of like more used to seeing it, whereas when everything's
The girl.
Because of the way you look, I mean, obviously, invariably, a male will probably come to you and say, we want you to wear less. Do you feel like you're in a position that you can push back and say no?
Yes, if it's gratuitous, of course you can. You just find a justifiable reason not to. But then sometimes it really works, and sometimes, there are times where there are characters that it's liberating to wear something that you're not comfortable in yourself. I think.
Yes? Kristin?
Well, it's just so funny being on True Blood because I'm the most dressed person. The men are never wearing clothing. It's totally awesome. And my clothing is so uncomfortable and painful, and I just love it so much. We probably jumped the shark last season on what Pam is wearing, and we have no idea where the line is. We keep imagining there's a line we're crossing, and then we put this hysterical outfit together, and then we go, I guess there is no line. It's like rubber and corset and bondage, and we're like, looks good. But, so it's just like, I don't know, I kind of look at naked people all day, and my feet always hurt, and I can barely breathe. I'm kind of having a blast. Such a funny job.
What about you, Lucy? You wore a lot of turtlenecks and long skirts and stuff.
I think the worst thing I ever had to wear was this real hair merkin that was like the size of somebody's beard. And I was like, can't you give me the Mr. Tumnus? I want the full suit. Nah, put it on, don't complain. That's how it works in my country. There's no, it's gratuitous, missy, they say to me. And I just go put it on.
We're going to be taking your questions, by the way, so if you'd like to line up in the center aisle, we'd be glad to grab it. Lucy, I want to go back to, can you talk about the finale? What's been the reaction to the Spartacus finale? I don't think it's a spoiler now at this point.
Hang on. The finale from last season?
Yes.
Oh! I don't know. I've been in the legal system